Hi, how's it going today? Today, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about paraphrasing. It's what I like to consider to be the fine art of showing what you read and what you understand from your readings. So, we're going to go ahead and get started with our presentation, and hopefully, this will help you to go ahead and demonstrate a little bit more to your teachers and to your readers that you got it when you have to read it. All right, and away we go. So a paraphrase is when you put something into your own words while maintaining the original intent. So you have to make sure you understand the main idea that the writer was originally trying to convey so that you can accurately paraphrase what he or she said. So you can paraphrase a single word, phrase, or group of words, a whole sentence, a paragraph, a page, okay? But again, ultimately, you have to remember, one, you have to be accurate. Two, to be a paraphrase and not a quote, you have to use your own words. And third and finally, it has to make sense. So to paraphrase a word, you're going to find a synonym that you can replace the word with, and then complete the sentence in your own words. Now, to paraphrase a sentence, it's a little bit different. You'd use the subject-verb identification procedure to determine the subject and the action of the sentence. Then you break the sentence into two or more phrases, and then rewrite each phrase in your own words so that it maintains the correct subject and action from the original sentence. Now, I realize some of you may be wondering, what's this subject-verb identification procedure? We're going to look at that. First, you want to identify all of the nouns in the sentence. Second, identify all the verbs, either the actions being performed with any helping verbs, or the descriptions of the subject, which will include your linking verbs. Then, once you've identified your nouns and your verbs, you're going to determine who or what is either performing the action or being described. That's the subject of the sentence. So now you know what the sentence is about, and you know what they're doing or what we learn about them, and then you can begin to paraphrase it on your own. Here's a little hint. If you're struggling with reading comprehension and you're not sure what is this sentence about, using the subject-verb identification procedure can help you better understand what you're reading. I've used it myself, and it's pretty helpful. So we're going to get into a little application here. So taking an excerpt from Henry David Thoreau's Civil Disobedience, I'd like you to try to paraphrase the following paragraph. So go ahead, pause the video, and take about 5-10 minutes and see if you can paraphrase what Thoreau is saying here in this paragraph. Remember, you can take each sentence, break it into parts, and paraphrase each section, and you might even try that subject-verb identification procedure in case you're really struggling with it. All right, go ahead and pause, and then we'll come back together and look and see how you did. All right, so how did you do? This is tricky. Paraphrasing takes a lot of work to do. So let's take a look at a student example and see how yours matches up with what they came up with. I agree with the idea that the less government involvement in our lives, the better. And I'd like to see it happen now across the country. Put into practice, it would mean that the best government is the one that doesn't exist. When people learn how to behave correctly, we may have just that kind of self-rule. Many people have argued about having an army occupying their country, and the same argument could be applied against having a government. So as you can see, this sounds a lot different from the 19th century Henry David Thoreau's writing. Let's take a look at the two side by side so that we can tell whether or not it's accurate. So the first phrase says, I heartily accept the motto, and this one starts with, I agree with the idea. It sounds different, but it contains the same idea, and it still makes sense. That government is best, which governs least. The less government involvement in our lives, the better. Again, one sounds a little older, right? That 19th century American English, and one sounds more contemporary, but it's still the same idea. And I should like to see it acted upon up to more rapidly and systemically. and I'd like to see it happen now across the country. Again, you have different phrasing, but still accurate and contains the same idea. Okay? So you can continue to take a look at the comparisons between the original source, which would be a direct quote, and the paraphrase. Now, what else do you notice about the difference between a direct quote and a paraphrase? Right? You do have a difference in the language. One's a little bit more archaic sounding, one's a little more contemporary. But what else do you notice? Right. Look how much longer the direct quote is. Look how much, more concise the paraphrase is. This is one of the reasons why teachers like to have students paraphrase a source versus always using direct quotes. One, in order to demonstrate to my teachers that I understood the reading, I can put it in my own words. And if I'm accurate, then I've accurately demonstrated my understanding. But what also is important is that I spend less time showing somebody else's ideas, and I have more time and space to develop my own ideas when I paraphrase. If I'm doing a direct quote, it can take up a lot more space. So this is one of the reasons why we'll frequently encourage our students to paraphrase some of their readings compared to always inserting quotes into their writing. So I hope that this helps you have a better understanding of what paraphrasing is, how to do it, and what it looks like when you're finished. Good luck out there, and best of luck with paraphrasing all of your different readings.